Okay, it's so amazing because tonight's study on our values is accepting responsibility. Yeah, that's fun. I don't know anybody that's doing that, but anyhow, it's a great subject. Let's pray and then we're going to get started. Father, we thank you today for an awesome day that you've given us. We thank you for the joy that we have to serve you, the happiness, the laughter that we share. We thank you, Father, that the Christian life is joy unspeakable and full of glory because we have peace that passes understanding. Speak to us tonight through your word. Glorify yourself in Jesus' name. Amen. If I were to ask you tonight, what is your greatest ability? I wonder what you would say. Some of you might say, well, if you were Wayne, you might say, I'm good at mechanics. If you were Clyde, you might say, I'm good at math. Or if you were Mark, you would say, I'm good at channel surfing. I'm trying to come up with something. So I'm helping you all I can. Yeah. Facebook, he's good. Yeah, all right. But and I could go on and on and on, you know. But I suggest to you tonight that the greatest ability that any of us could have is responsibility. If that's Jesus, tell him I'm starting it just as soon. I was just a little bit late telling the story. Responsibility is the ability to respond to life. Now, I want to say that again because I want you to get this. If you don't get this, you're going to miss what we're going to talk about tonight. Responsibility is the ability to respond to life. I think, personally, that it's one of the greatest gifts that God has given to each of us. God created you and he made you a human being. And what makes you a human, what makes us a part of humanity is he has given us the ability to choose your response to life. Now, you remember last Sunday night in our study in Corinthians, we talked about responsibility and unity, and then we talked a little bit about flesh and how flesh rises up sometimes in our life. But what makes you so unique, what makes each of us so unique is that God has given us the ability to choose how we're going to respond to life. You can respond to life a lot of different ways. How you respond to stress, or how you respond to crises, or how you respond to just everyday problems, how you respond to opportunities, and how you respond to relationships. All of these are choices that you're going to have to make in your life. Some of you had to make some today, some of these choices today. Some of you might have experienced some problems today, or a crisis today, or an opportunity today. Some of you might have had some issues in your relationships today. And some of all these things could have added up to stress. How do you respond is how you look at life, and that's your responsibility. No one else can make those choices for you but you. And so that's what we're going to talk about. There are many things in life that we don't have any choice in. For an example, you didn't have any choice when you were going to be born. You didn't have any choice in where you were going to be born. You didn't even have any choice in how you were going to be born. And so there were a lot of circumstances going on. Maybe those circumstances were ideal. Some of those circumstances were not so ideal. Maybe you came from a broken home, and maybe you came from a home that was filled with love and joy and rejoicing. But you didn't have any choice in those things. That's how life dealt you. And so you have to choose how you are going to respond to life that you're living in. All of us are living differently in the same life. Isn't that true? My life is different from Mark's life, and Cher's life is different from Kay's life, and on and on and on. You understand what I'm saying? But we're still living life, you know. And so, because of the fact that we have freedoms to choose, sometimes we don't make the best choices in the world. Justice Louis Mandrus said, responsibility is the great developer. Responsibility is the great developer. And then he goes on to say it builds your character. It's what helps you grow. Churchill called responsibility the price of greatness. If you want to do something great with your life, then you have to become a responsible person, according to Winston Churchill. Tonight we're going to talk about personal responsibility, and we're going to try to get finished with this study. If we don't, we'll just start here next Wednesday night. So this is foundation ground zero. I mean, this is it. This is where it all begins. You and I accepting responsibility for our life. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Nobody wants to accept responsibility for anything anymore. Have you ever noticed that? I mean, all you got to do is watch TV. I mean, listen, I don't know how to tell you this in a nice way, but we're surrounded by a bunch of idiots. Have you ever noticed? And all of them want to be on TV. Yeah, isn't that good? Yeah, burning somebody's house or setting their car on fire. And these, and so we want to accuse somebody else while we are excusing ourselves. It's never our fault. We want to accuse other people, and it's all their fault. It's it's the political arena. It's all their fault. That's where we're in the mess we're in. Or it's the church's fault, or it's our mom and dad's fault, or it's our siblings' fault, or it's the way I was brought up. It was somebody else's fault, and on and on and on. So in introduction to this study last week, we talked about this, and this is how we try to lay this thing out, that values in our life basically are what we believe. Our beliefs determine our behavior, and our behavior determines what we become and what our society becomes. And we talked about the ideas of individualism and secularism and relativism and how it has influenced our value systems in America today. Well, there are three values that are prevalent today that we're going to talk about. One of them is the antithesis of personal responsibility. That is the rights mentality, the victim mentality, and the entitlement mentality. So we're going to look at these. We're going to take a look at these because these are things right now that's pretty much governing our nation. That is the rights mentality, the victim mentality, and the entitlement mentality have taken our nation from here and moved it over to here, and it's out of whack. It's out of whack. The truth of the matter is, guys, now I'm going to tell you this. You've heard me say this before, and I'm going to say it again. There are no free lunches. Somebody's paying. Somebody's going to pay. That's just the way it is. So what causes that? What has happened in our society? What has happened to the value systems that this study is all about in our society? Again, these things are so prevalent. These three beliefs are so obvious. So let's talk about them. That's the rights mentality. Now, I don't have to talk to you about rights mentality. We all know what that is. The rights mentality simply says, I have my rights, and that is all I'm interested in. I have my rights, and I'm not interested in your rights. I'm just interested in my rights. And so I think that today you would probably agree with me that our entire society is obsessed with our rights. Just look around a little bit. I mean, John Leo from U.S. News and World Report said, today American politics is awash in rights talk. We have criminal rights, computer rights, animal rights, children's rights, victims' rights, abortion's rights, housing rights, privacy rights, the right to know the sex of a fetus, the right to own an AK-47 for hunting purposes. Yes, I'm for that. And a right not to be tested for AIDS, and the right not to inform anybody that may have been infected. Recently we have, and I'm quoting this, not my hand up. Recently we have acquired the right to die. And according to some, rather In imaginative theorist, a damaged fetus also has the right not to be born. Mental patients used to have the right to treatment, and now they have the right to be dumped on the streets. And they have an ACLU protected right to no treatment at all. Our culture has reached the point where the obsession with individual rights is making it hard for us to think socially. And that is a quote from John Leo from U.S. News and World Report. He suggests that along with the Bill of Rights, that we need a new Bill of Responsibilities. Well, John, we already have one. It's called the Word of God. And so if you'll just kind of get in it, you'll find out that we already have a foundation. We hear a lot today about rights, and we don't hear very much about responsibilities. We hear a lot about entitlement, but we don't hear a lot about obligations. And we hear a lot about myself, but we don't hear a lot about what self does to other people. We certainly hear a whole lot more about choice than we do about commitment. So tonight we're going to continue our series, as I've said earlier, on life's values. We're going to look at this particular thing, value of responsibility and rights. Secondly, it's what I call the victim mentality. Now, I'm telling you something, guys. You would be absolutely, well, maybe not, totally amazed at the amount of people living within throwing of a rock from your house who have a victim mentality. The victim mentality basically goes like this. None of my problems are my fault. Basically, it's all your fault. It's called the blame game. Huh? You know how you spell blame? B-lame. You'll get that. You'll get that. It'll take you a little while. On the way out to the parking lot, it'll come to you. Every time we blame somebody else for the unhappiness in your life, you're being lame. We are a nation of victims. None of it is my fault. It's always somebody else's fault. I have my rights. And then comes a third, antithesis to personal responsibility. And that's what I call, and that's not originally because everybody else talks about it, and that's called the entitlement mentality. The entitlement mentality basically says, I deserve it. The world owes me a living. Well, this kind of strange combination that came about from a generation of baby boomers, all about 76 million of them, who are all raised on the second most popular book ever sold, Dr. Benjamin Smock's baby book. I'm so happy that I had an opportunity to throw mine away. In that little book, it basically says, leave the little tyrant alone. If he wants to throw Jell-O around the living room, go ahead. You don't want to harm his creativity. A whole generation grew up not thinking, I'm my brother's keeper. They're not even thinking I'm my own keeper. Rather, the mentality is, you really ought to take care of me. Hello? Couple that with the rapid expansion of government intervention in the last 40 years, which basically says, we'll take care of you from the cradle to the grave. We've got a program just for you, tailor-made for your life. We'll take care of you. And so conversely, people have developed this attitude. I have the right not to work. Hello? Yeah. If the government has committed to take care of me, then I don't have to worry about working. It is their responsibility to make me a living, not me a responsibility to work. Well, then that produced with Time magazine called an article called Busybodies and Crybabies, What's Happening to the American Character. Inside that article, I want to quote just one part of it. A nation of finger pointers, twin malformations are cropping up in American character. A nasty intolerance and a desire to blame everyone else for everything else. It is that kind of world we live in that says, I am not responsible for anything. It is not my fault. That was a pretty good article. In stark contrast to that article, notice what the Bible said in Ephesians chapter 5. Live life with a sense of responsibility, not as those who don't know the meaning of life, but as those who do. Notice the term that Paul uses in this particular translation, which is actually the New Living Translation. It says, a sense of responsibility. God says that you and I are to live our life with a sense of responsibility. But more important than that, notice the reason. He says, because you know the meaning of life. That's the point of this particular verse right here. If you live your life responsibly, it means that you probably know the meaning of life. You've got it figured out. That's why God put you here. And so, on the other hand, if you're living an irresponsible life, it probably means just the opposite. That means you probably don't know the meaning of life at all. You don't know your purpose. You don't know why God put you on this planet in the first place. Therefore, the key to living a more responsible life is to figure out, why am I here? What God put me on this earth for? So the first thing we need to deal with, that I need to deal with and you need to deal with, is why should I live a responsible life? Why should I be responsible in all these things in my life? Well, there are three reasons I'm going to give you tonight, and they're simple. First of all, because God's watching me. Now, God's not watching you to get you. You know, He's not watching you where He can punish you or strike you dead or make you have leprosy or something. That's not it at all. The Bible says nothing in all the world can be hidden from God. Everything is open before Him, and to Him we must explain the way we've lived. You said, preacher, you told us Sunday that we wouldn't have to give an account of our sins. We don't have to give an account of our sin, but I promise you, you're going to stand before the judgment seat of Christ and give an account of how you live your responsibility. You say, wait, I'm confused. Well, don't be confused. Sin is one thing, responsibility is something else. Sin was taken care of at the cross. Isn't that right? The blood of Christ cleanses us from all sins. What your Bible says, say yes. But God says that we are responsible for our life. We're responsible for our choices. We're responsible for our attitude. We're responsible for our relationships. Now, if you don't get anything else I'm going to say tonight, I want you to get this. Life is a test of responsibility. Write that down someplace. If you didn't bring a paper and a pencil, write it in your mental notebook. You brought it, didn't you? Okay, thank you. I feel much better now. So that's why we're going through all this thing. Listen, God planned you. He thought you up, put you on this earth, and He's testing your responsibilities. Whether you live to be 30 or 40 or 60 or 80 or 90 or 100 years old, that is simply a little millimeter on life's yardstick. When you die, that's not the end of you. In fact, when this body dies, you just start living. Hello? And so we're going to live for eternity in one of two places. We're either going to live in heaven or we're going to live in torment. It's just those places. That's just you either, if you're saved, you're going to heaven. If you're not saved, you're going to torment. Amen. So what you do with your life and the decisions you make here on this earth are going to impact your eternity. When you spend far more time on the other side of death than you're going to spend on this side of death. Isn't that true? Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, I don't know how to tell you this in a nice way. I'm probably older than anybody in here except for dirt. You know? I mean, I wasn't there the day that God made Adam, but I think I was there when He made dirt. I was on an errand when He made, anyhow. So what's going on in your life for 50 or 100 years while you live here on this earth? What's happening? What are you doing? Well, let me tell you, it's just a warm-up act for eternity. This is just a dress rehearsal. You see, this is where you get the parts right. Right now, we're in preschool. God's testing your responsibility to see what's going to happen later on. God put you on this earth primarily for two reasons. First, He put you on this earth to get to know Him personally through His Son, Jesus Christ. That's God's will for your life. Isn't it? Isn't it? The Bible said in Paul's writing to Timothy, it's the will of God that all men everywhere, what? Be saved. So if that's God's will for your life, primarily that's the first reason He put you on this earth, for you to be able to know Him through His Son, Jesus Christ. Secondly, to develop character. You say, well, wait a minute, how you know? Because the Bible said in Romans, it's the will of God that all men be conformed to the image of Jesus. Isn't that right? Does your Bible say that? Absolutely it does. So, we need to develop character. We need to have a conform to the image. That doesn't mean look like. That means to have the character of Christ. The life that people, that we could live, that others see Christ through us. And so, we become more like God in character to develop values and the responsibility behind all of that. That's the foundation. And so if you're not responsible, then you're not going to build values in your life. You're not going to have a life filled with values. You're going to have a life that's filled with happenstance. You're going to have a life that's filled with things that don't count, that doesn't amount to anything. You understand what I'm saying? You're going to build your life on things that doesn't matter. Are you listening? Can I just tell you something just right, that you didn't know I knew this? That most of the arguments that you have at your house are over absolutely stupid stuff that doesn't mean anything. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Who cares if the dirty clothes are in the floor? Well, my wife. Look, it don't matter. I mean, hey, you know what? Every so often, I just go by and pick them up and put them in the washing machine and turn that sucker on. And then she says, this is a wife statement here. Not your wife, just my wife. Now, there ain't but two people live at my house. You understand? Me and Linda. Hello? And she goes by the washing machine and says, who put all the white and the dark clothes together in the washer? Well, I'm dead in the water. I mean, unless Santa Claus come by and messed up the clothes, I'm the guilty guy. I mean, what can I say? I mean, you know, it would be much better if she'd say, Cliff, you dummy, did you put all this in you? And you know I did. You know? Why is God so interested in our character? Well, really, God doesn't really care about your achievements. He wants you to be successful. The Bible tells over and over and over that God wants us to be successful, but He's more interested in your character than He is your success. You see, God really is not concerned about your bank account, although the Bible tells us He wants us to prosper as our soul prospers. So, but He's interested in your character. So why? Why is it that God is so interested in my character? Because it's the only thing that you're going to take with you when you die. Did you get that? Now, I don't know how to tell you this in a nice way. All this stuff that you think is so awesome is going to still be here when you're going off. Yeah, and now listen, I know what you think. I know you're thinking that I'm gonna get buried in this metallic casket here that's got a spring in it that when I begin to deteriorate, it's going to keep picking me up where I can be close to the top, and it is airproof where I won't deteriorate, you know. And I'm gonna take all this stuff, all these coins and all these buns and all these diamonds and all. That ain't happening. Honey, when them eyes go shut, and you read the last thing, hey, the vultures are moving in, and they're called children. You want to find out how godly your family is? Leave somebody $1,000 and somebody else 10. Son, there's a killing on the horizon. Mama died 78 years ago, and I still ain't spoke to her because she got the diamond. I wanted that ring. Mama, I think Mama told me one day I could have that ring. No, Nellie got the ring. I got the dish rag. That hussy. I knew she was going to get it because she's a con artist. She con Mama. Huh? I know that's none of your families. I'm sorry I even brought it up. But you see, the truth about it is all of this stuff that you and I value in life not going to matter. The thing that you're going to take with you to glory is your character. Your character. And so, God is evaluating. What are your responsibilities? And the Bible says that in eternity we'll be rewarded according to our works. A part of that works is how we handle our responsibility. How do we do what we do for the glory of God? Now, once you get settled on this issue, I know God and I know His Son Christ and I'm a follower, then comes this second issue is, what do I do with what God has given me? So what are you going to do with what God's given you? You say, well, let me tell you. Let me tell you a couple of things that you didn't know you could be thankful for. Let me tell you that not counting your salvation, I understand how gloriously happy and rewarded we are when we got saved. Isn't that right? Say yes. Okay, I just want to make sure you didn't go sleep on me because the sun's back out, Let me tell you one of the great blessings that you have living in America. I'm telling you something, guys. We can gripe and chew and gnaw ears and all that kind of stuff, but let me tell you something. This is still the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And you need to be thankful that we live here. And God's given you certain opportunities. God's given you an opportunity to work. He's given you an opportunity to make a living. He's given you an opportunity to make money to where you can buy stuff. Huh? Amen. I mean, we buy stuff for our kids, and then we buy stuff for our grandkids. Huh? And then you just pray you don't have a whole bucket full of great-grandkids. You understand what I'm saying? Because we're going to buy stuff for them too. But why is that? Because God gave you the opportunity to work where you can enjoy living life. All right? And so all of these are things that God has given us. Oh, He's given us tons more, but those are just some of them. But what does He expect from His investment? Well, the Bible says each of us will have to give a personal account to God. Daniel Webster once said, the most important idea I've ever thought was the day I realized that I am personally and individually accountable to God for how I lived. Isn't that pretty awesome? Our value system rests in how we deal with responsibility of our everyday living. Now, number two, not only because God is watching us, others are affected by my life. I think that's one of the greatest things right here that all of us need to understand. None of us lives to ourselves alone. We are not all interdependent. I mean, we're not all independent. We're interdependent of each other. All right, did you get that? Paul said people should be concerned about others and not just about themselves. Back in the 60s, during the hippie movement, none of you were alive then, there used to be these beautiful psychedelic posters. One of them went something like this. I don't know how I would know that. I was not put on this planet to live up to your expectations, and you were not put on this planet to live up to my expectations. So let me do my thing, and you do your thing, and if perchance we happen to meet, that's groovy. I thought that was the neatest thing. The only other post I've ever read that I thought was so much more neater than that was this cat hanging on a limb, and it says, "Hang in there, baby." You say, "Well, preacher, that's about the corniest thing that you've ever taught." Well, well, it's hard to get good stuff. Billy Joel did a song one time. Says, "I don't care what they say. This is my life. Or the great theologian that you may remember, Sammy Davis Jr., said, I've got to be me. Or his theological partner, Sinatra, said, I did it my way. The basic idea behind all of this stuff that I'm telling you about, these jarheads here, is that basically we sing about, we talk about how we live. Amen. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you who my singers idols are, because it don't say real good stuff about how I live, you know. The problem is all this stuff is wrong. The truth is, no man is an island. My life affects somebody else. My personal life affects somebody else. Isn't that true? And you've heard me say this before, and I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it again before I get through being pastor here to 86 years from now. One of my greatest fears, you say, well, preacher, you're not supposed to be afraid. I'm not afraid like scared. One of my greatest concerns, maybe that's a better word, is that my children or my wife may see in my daily life something that would steal away their faith in what I preach in the pulpit. That's one of my greatest concerns. You know why? They see us. Your kids know you. Hello? They know you. You see, we don't know each other. Well, y'all know everything about me because I'm a tattletale. You know, I don't have any secrets. Linda said, if you got any secrets you hadn't told the Bible study class, I said, no, but if I come across one, I'll tell them either Sunday night or Wednesday night. But we don't really know each other. We know your name and we know what you look like, but I don't really know you. You know, I know Jan and Keith. Jan's worked with me for the last 30 years. I know her and Keith. And I love them. My goodness, I love them. You see, our life affects somebody else. There's somebody looking at you that you don't know that's looking at you. There's people looking at you on your job every day. They're listening to see if you're going to be positive or negative. They're listening to see if you're going to gossip or if you're going to build somebody up. They're looking at you. They understand who you are. There are people looking at you in the department stores. There's a kid that's looking at you at Walmart cash register. And if you go through there enough, they know who you are. Huh? Hello? Now, there's a bunch of them who I am because I pick on them all the time. You know, I go to Ingles, and they know exactly who I am, and because I pick on them all the time. And I just think it's hilarious. And they know I'm going to pick on them, and they can't wait to see if I'm going to come through their cash register or not. Because when I go there, and I've got one now, I'm not going to tell you who she is, but her name is Sarah. And she calls me Clint Black all the time. And she say, here comes Clint. And I say, if I ever get Clint Black's money, I'm going to come to your cash register and I'm going to give you a tip. And she said, oh, I wish your name was Clint. And, but people know you, but they don't know you. You know, you are the real you when nobody's looking. Huh? Hello? Who are you when you think nobody's looking? That, ladies and gentlemen, is called character. The third thing, I need to be responsible because God rewards me for it. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 2 says, you will experience all of God's blessings if you obey the Lord. Notice the word all. God says, if you want all that I have, I want all God has for me, don't you? Man, listen, I don't know what it is, but I want it. Amen. Because God don't give junk. Isn't that right? I mean, everything God gives is good and great and glorious. So I want all he has for me. And so I want everything. I want life. Life for me is party. You know, I like money. You say, well, preachers don't supposed to like money. Who said so? I like money. I like buying things. I like spending my money on. I like spending money on my wife. And if you don't like spending money on your wife, shame on you. You know, it cause your credit card company to be happy too. You know, I mean, you're not an island. You know, you spend money on your wife, your credit card company will be happy. They'll just raise your debt limit on up. You know, yeah, bless God, we love you. You've been with us so long. Now your credit limit just went up another diamond ring. Yeah. But I like it. I like life. I like laughing. I like having fun. I like going places. I like meeting people. I like talking about Jesus. I like giving away poker chips. Don't you like giving away poker chips? Sure. Yeah. I told you, I only had one left, and I didn't know who to give it to when we went on vacation. So I left it in the thing where you have to go through customs to get back on the airplane to fly home. I left it in that little cup with my change. I left 75 cents and a Mountain Grove poker chip in that little cup right there. Then said, what'd you do that for? I said, because somebody may find it. And they may look on that little poker chip and say, what is this? And they'll say, Thunder Sunday. Let me go, mountaingrove.org, and they may pull it up, and they may listen to a sermon, and they might get saved. You know? And that's what life's all about. I mean, you know, I just think it's joy unspeakable and full of glory, living the Christian life. Jesus wanted us to have his joy and his joy running over. Isn't that right? That my joy and your joy may be full. Jesus said to those who use well what they're given, even more will be given. If you use your influence, you'll become more influential. If you use your possessions well, God will provide you with more. Well, I mean, let me ask you a question. Why would God give you more money if you just screw it around with what you have? Does that make sense? Why would God bless you with more money if you're just throwing away what you have? You aren't giving him any of it. You know why? You don't have any left over. Huh? Amen. You're the preacher. I don't think I'm liking this study. It was real good one time, but it's going downhill in a hurry right now. You see, he says if you'll be responsible, I'll bless you with more responsibility and blessings. Isn't that great? Isn't that awesome? Look, guys, you just simply cannot outgive God. I mean, I'm just telling you, you just simply can't. And so, here we are. Talking about values, talking about responsibility. You guys, and I know, people think that I love you guys more than I do anybody else. Well, okay. You don't have to be here, but I'm glad you are. You understand what I'm saying? But here's the thing, that we get to know more about who we are because we have an intimate relationship Sunday night, Wednesday night. Isn't that true? Yeah. You know, I mean, I know about your families. I know about your family members. I know what they do. I know some of the issues that they have. And I know we pray for them. And all of these things are pretty awesome, you know. And this is the sad thing about church, whether it's big church or little church. Now Barna did research. And regardless of the size of the church that people attend, whether they got 50 members or 5,000 members or 25,000 members, George Barna says that out of that group of people that you will get to be acquainted with about 25 or 30. And he said you would become intimate with about 10. Isn't that amazing? You say, well, preacher, I don't know if I believe that or not. Well, let me just ask you a question. With all the loving that we do in this church and all the neck hugging and all that kind of stuff, how many people do you really feel like that you have an intimate relationship with called good friends? Huh? Yeah. I told somebody the other day I only got 2 friends, and Clyde's both of them. So yeah. So if you walk outside, I'm dead in the water. You understand what I'm saying? But the truth of the matter is, most people will come to a church like our church. That's a caring church, a loving church, and I believe that with all my heart. But if you just come and sit down and listen and get up and leave, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. In about 6 months or a year, somebody's going to see you and say, I hadn't seen you at church in a while. And you know what your response is going to be? Well, I just never did quite fit in at Mountain Grove. You know why? You were never in. You were a spectator. We got some great stuff going on here. Find out what it is. Find out where your ministry is. Let God use you here at Mountain Grove. You say, preacher, what do you say? Listen, get this, because we're finished right here. Be responsible with your Christian life. Be responsible with your Christian life. Somewhere along the way, somebody was responsible enough to talk to you about the Lord. So, my question is this. How responsible are you with your salvation experience? Have you told anybody about Jesus lately? We didn't baptize last Sunday. We didn't baptize last Sunday, did we? You know why? Wasn't anybody baptized. Nobody talked to anybody about Jesus to get them to be baptized. Maybe we don't know any lost people. Maybe all the people we know is on their way to heaven, just waiting for Jesus to toot where we could scoot. Yeah? Yeah. I don't know how to tell you this in a nice way. I know some lost folk. And I probably didn't talk to as many as I should have. Let me rephrase that. I just promise you I didn't talk to as many as I should have last week. Just the way you was on vacation. I don't care. You can talk to people about Jesus on vacation, can't you? Yeah, time God, I'm going on vacation. I can't. Yeah, I'll check back in about Sunday. From then, between now and then, just don't mess with me. Just don't let me get killed or anything like that. Don't let my plane crash and all that stuff. But I'll check back in about Sunday. And if I see anybody lost, I'll tell them about Jesus. Not this week, Sunday. You understand what I'm saying? You said, preacher, why you make it? Listen, I'm telling you something, guys. I'm not trying to put a guilt trip on you. That's the reason I'm trying to make a joke out of it. We need to live responsibly because we're saved. There's a lot of folk out there that would give anything to be saved, and they don't even know it yet. Amen. All right. That's it. That's tonight. So your greatest ability is your responsibility. Next Wednesday night, we're going to talk about values. Oh, yeah, that's what the series is about. All right. Let me see. I'm going to put this.